Hey everybody, welcome to Essential TV. I am here with...
me, Roddy McInnes, in another location far, far away. Hello.
Far, far away across the river.
Yep.
I am, of course, Luke Watson, and we are here today to talk about a little movie I like to call Avengers: Infinity War. So... I do want to warn everybody that we will...
spoilers all the time.
Spoilers.
I was wanting Luke to spoil it for me from the beginning. I actually begged him to do some sort of stream where he spoils the movie for me. You can see my reaction, and then everyone hates Luke for no reason whatsoever. But apparently it's against your moral code.
We all have to have a code. We have to have a creed. And mine is to be spoiler-free. However, it has now been a week. Yeah. And so it's a week for a movie like this is, I feel like now there's no holding back. The clickbait and the headlines, they're all full of spoilers. So
if everyone had seen it, you would have seen it by now. Everybody dies. Everyone dies. And Peter Dinklage is big and small at the same time.
Almost everybody dies. Did you see there's an interview that Mark Ruffalo did
with Don Cheadle?
It was during I think the Thor Ragnarok press tour.
Yeah.
And he says, he says, half of them die or something, talking about the heroes. Yeah. And Don Cheadle's like, he's like, yo, that is such a spoiler. You're going to get me fired too, just by sitting here.
Here's the thing. I don't think Mark Ruffalo has any fear of that because they're not going to recast him.
Now, wait a second. He's the third Hulk.
The third Hulk?
Eric Bana, Ang Lee, his terrible Hulk movie, and then Edward Norton in the other one that wasn't as bad, but still part of the MCU. So he is the third Hulk. So I don't know if that means that they would be hesitant to replace him again, or he's expendable because, hey, what's another guy?
Everyone likes Mark Ruffalo as the Hulk, though. So yes. I think he had no fear.
First, I want to ask you, because with this movie, I don't recall ever experiencing what I experienced at the end of this movie in a theater full of people. And that is stunned silence. Normally, with a Marvel movie or a Star Wars movie or anything like this, the fans are all out in force. Yeah. There's clapping, there's cheering, and there was nothing. It was silent, and it was weird.
Yeah, I went to see it with my wife, and there was at the end silence up on 86th Street, apart from one guy at the back just went, "Oh shit!" That was it.
And that says it all.
That was a good reaction at the end when the credits started rolling. I thought a solidly good movie. It was more complicated than I thought it was going to be, emotionally and character-wise. Much deeper movie than I thought it was going to be.
A lot of that is because the first two Avengers, they were Joss Whedon movies, and, you know, he doesn't really go that deep. It kind of keeps it light and fluffy and fun.
He likes fluff.
This was the Russos. This was different.
He likes the happy ending.
I have to tell you what I thought would happen. I avoided all the spoilers. I'm aware of the original Infinity War or the Infinity Gauntlet stories, but I haven't actually read those comics. That's one of the major storylines I just, for some reason, I never read. So I didn't really know what to expect going into this. But when the movie ends and the credits start to roll, we know about the Marvel post-credit scene.
Yeah.
I would say about 80% of me expected that the movie would actually, instead of having a traditional post-credit scene like they do, it would actually pick up the story for like another 20 minutes or something. I thought they're going to fake us out with the post-credit scene, and this movie isn't really over.
Yeah, that would have been a good way to take it. What happened in the end was them activating Captain Marvel, or Miss Marvel. Which one is it?
Yeah, it's Captain Marvel.
Captain Marvel. I'm just being a misogynist. Dr. Marvel. She can be anything she wants.
There's a Ms. Marvel.
There is.
Does she change to Mrs. Marvel if she gets married? I'm assuming anyone who marries
or something.
Anyone who marries Ms. Marvel has to take the name, obviously.
I think, well, you don't have to, but you'd want to.
Yeah, I mean,
Luke Marvel is way sexier than Luke Watson.
that's true. That's true.
Roddy Marvel just sounds ridiculous.
It does.
Nice to meet you. I'm Roddy Marvel.
What about? Okay, no, I can fix it. Roddy McMarvel.
Roddy McMarvel. I sound like something McDonald's releases and tie-ins to like the Guardians movie. Don't do that.
Exactly.
Roddy McMarvel. You're a racist. You can't just put Mick in front of something and makes it okay.
I'm a culturist. Because I'm as white as you.
No, I think I'm whiter. Actually, I'm from where they make white people. I'm like see-through, translucent. Anyway, doesn't matter.
So yeah, let's just explain that post-credit scene for people that have not yet read about it or aren't as into the comics. So that's what's happening. Whenever Nick Fury, Sam Jackson, he pulls up his like crazy old school beeper thing, the symbol that's on the screen is Captain Marvel's symbol. And we know that Captain Marvel, the movie, is coming out next year. It's the first Marvel movie of 2019, and that's the one starring Brie Larson. Who,
set in the 90s.
It's set in the 90s, yep. And so it's going to go back in time, and Sam Jackson is back, apparently playing Nick Fury in the 90s. I don't know. I mean, we know very little about it. There's been some set photos of her in the costume, but that's about it.
I want him to have hair. I want him to look like Jules in Pulp Fiction.
I was about to say, he's got to get the Pulp Fiction wig.
Say what again?
This could be very interesting and enlightening to because they totally skipped over the 90s. And obviously, it's going to be a crucial part of what's going forward with these movies. So
stuff must have happened.
Exactly.
Like Tony Stark just bombing about being a reckless 20-year-old.
Yeah, there's some good potential for him, in like page 6 in the 90s. Basically, they'll just use articles about Robert Downey Jr. and they'll just change the name to Tony Stark.
Yeah. What was he famous for saying? It was like, he's got a shotgun barrel in his mouth and he likes the taste of gunmetal. That was what he was doing. And then around about Ally McBeal times, when he was all the drugs all the time.
Yep. That sounds like it could be Tony Stark.
Right. So we're getting distracted.
Okay, so let's get back on track.
Did it meet expectations, Luke? Did it meet your liking?
Did this meet expectations? I am satisfied with this film. It is the culmination of 10 years of universe building, and I'm glad that the Russos directed, because they did a masterful job of somehow bringing this avalanche of characters into one movie cohesively, and I didn't feel like anyone got shortchanged. I felt like, minor characters, even like Falcon, he's not a huge character. He's a good supporting character, but take him or leave him and it doesn't really impact the story. But he had some moments. Pepper Potts even had moments. Like everyone that wanted to continue in this universe, every actor that is still on board with Marvel had a moment, except for Hawkeye.
I miss Hawkeye. I like a bit of Hawkeye. People shit on him, but he's going toe to toe with gods and heroes and mad scientists with a bow and arrow, and he holds his own.
I'm withholding judgment here because I'm just going to assume that in the follow-up to this, the untitled Avengers 4, he has some part to play, and that is, in his absence, will be explained. Because it is a little weird. Yeah, I don't know. I'm gonna hang tight on the Hawkeye judgments.
All right, I like him. I think he's a vastly underappreciated addition to the team. He's useful for making tea. He mops a floor very effectively. He's very good at darts. Is
that why he left the team?
He was just being used as a janitor. Yeah,
right.
Janitor and tea person. That's probably why he left the team.
I'll tell you what really struck me about this movie, talking about how it brings everyone together, is that it felt to me like 4 different movies that were tied together very nicely. It felt like a Guardians of the Galaxy movie featuring Thor. It felt like an Iron Man movie featuring Spider-Man and Doctor Strange. It felt like Captain America visiting Wakanda. And then it felt like a Thanos movie. It feels like, and for the first time, a Marvel villain actually kind of has his own movie.
And rightly so. It's at the end of it, it says Thanos will return.
This was his
the only
movie
way that could have been done. And I have to tell you, I think he kind of has a point, and I can see and understand it with his actions.
You see, I thought I was the only terrible person.
Oh, you agree?
I agree. Okay, so let's talk. Let's just so everyone knows what we're talking about. Thanos' whole thing here is he wants the Infinity Stones and the Gauntlet so he can snap his fingers and he can immediately erase half of the population of the universe from existence, because it's resource driven. If you reduce the population by 50% across the board, the life of the remaining 50% will be so much better. And his backstories, he's seen this in his own planet, and he warned them, but they just continued to overpopulate and drain all the resources and created a nightmare scenario. And he wants to spare everyone in the universe this. So he has questionable a questionable plan of attack for a totally reasonable observation.
Well, here's the thing. It is a reasonable observation. It's obviously, yes, genocide on a universal scale is not a good thing. But he was going to be doing that anyway. You saw him when he found Gamora on the planet.
He's already been doing it.
He was still killing people, half the population. He was just doing it one planet at a time.
Very slow.
Which, as we know, time consuming.
Exactly.
So, if anything, he's just sort of streamlining his business plan.
He was automating his workflow, and Silicon Valley would line up to give him money if he just put it that way.
He's the Jeff Bezos of the Marvel universe.
Exactly. But I'll tell you, and I haven't heard anyone except for you support his actions.
No. I'm not saying I support the genocide of half the population of the universe. What I'm saying is I can understand, and in a certain light, I can see he has a good point.
Okay. I'm glad to hear that you were glad that they killed all these beloved characters.
Yeah, fuck them. A lot of them I can do.
And
I meet a lot of people every day that I now realize that I wouldn't mind turning into dust.
So you can tweet at Roddy McInnes.
Yeah, at Roddy McInnes on Twitter.
But I have a theory here. I have a theory that the reason that maybe you and I are not as judgmental against Thanos is because we live in New York City, and anyone who lives in New York City surrounded by 9 million people has thought, wouldn't this place be awesome if half these people weren't here?
Yup.
And there have been precious few times in my entire life in New York City. There's been precious few times where the population has gone away for me to enjoy the city as it is meant to be, as it can sustain. I remember Hurricane. It wasn't Sandy. It was the one before that, Irene, which was really just like they threatened you. The media blew it out of proportion, and they said, "Oh, this hurricane's going to hit the city," and a bunch of people left. And people were boarding up the windows, all the stores and everything. And I stayed in the city because I can read through media hype, and I could tell it was nonsense.
You're not powered.
Exactly. And so I experienced a day in the city before this hurricane, the supposed hurricane was hitting, where at least half the population was gone, and it was awesome. It was absolutely awesome. But of course, it meant that half the businesses were closed as well. But it's like when you've got 6 restaurants on a block, 3 is still fine. I'll deal with 3 restaurants instead of 6 to choose from.
All I want is that scene from Vanilla Sky in time with Tom Cruise in Times Square, just peace, tranquility.
And I will. And another little pointer on that: if you visit Times Square the morning after New Year's, it's completely abandoned. It's a mess. but it is a truly a wonderful experience because everyone has had their fill of Times Square.
Oh, and before we move on, though I agree with Thanos' point, or rather I can understand it, I don't understand how resources can be finite given that space is meant to be infinite.
Well, and that's kind of related to a point that I had. If his solution to the problem of limited resources is snapping his fingers and deleting half of the population, why doesn't he snap his fingers and double the resources?
I suppose you could.
Why
How
not?
would you do that? I think the administration problems of that, the sort of HR logistics of getting all the food and the resources and the fuel and whatever else people need in the right place at the right time.
So what we're getting at here is what makes Thanos a villain, his character flaw, is that he's lazy.
Yeah. He went through all that effort just to get hold of all the Infinity Stones.
Do a half-assed job. What I think happened, though,
yeah,
and this is it's not really a spoiler because it's just conjecture. It's informed conjecture, is that the Soul Stone got special attention in this movie. That's the one that Gamora is sacrificed to. And I'm just assuming that everyone who was deleted is in the Soul Stone along with Gamora as the first victim of it. And that's what's happening.
No.
I don't know if it's a matter of, I think in the comics what happens is the Soul Stone does in fact trap souls. But I'm thinking it's when we're talking about why don't you just duplicate the resources, you could also just split the universe into two and only half go in this and half go in that. And so I'm thinking the Soul Stone is a universe unto itself, and they're all the people that we think are dead are just chilling in there.
Perhaps. I don't think Gamora is there because we see her body on the ground. She fell.
That was a little different. I think she's back, though. I don't think that her story's ended. They're doing Guardians of the Galaxy 3, and I think she's back.
I think the entire driving point of that will be trying to get Gamora back.
I think she's the key that makes this all undone.
With Chris Pratt.
Chris Pratt.
Yeah. I'm so sad. I'm so sad that Chris Pratt put on weight.
No, I love that they draw attention to it and they had fun with it.
He was so big before and then got into such good shape and then let it go. He was my idol for a bit because I used to be quite a lot bigger, and then I got down a little bit. I'm like, he can do it, I can do it, and no, it just doesn't maintain. I want him to be sexy again, Luke. That's all I want.
Well, you know what?
The next movie.
It's not for you to put your judgments on him. It's whatever makes him happy.
Fine.
So speaking
how dare he be rich and happy?
He's in every blockbuster movie now. I'm sure that he's going to a lot of parties with a lot of great hors d'oeuvres.
Although he got quite far down the line in terms of credit at the end in the.
I didn't notice that.
Yeah, quite far awards. I wonder, not that I think that sort of thing would bother him, but I don't know if it was a matter of other people having better representation.
I don't know. Maybe it was seniority, how long they've been in. I don't know. That's interesting though. I'll have to look at the credits.
I suppose you're right. If you've been in the Marvel franchises longer, you're kind of all right.
Because he's a pretty new addition.
That's a good point.
One last point on Thanos, though, when we're talking about the whole 50-50 thing, I do question. The thing that reveals to me everything about Thanos as a character is he said that he was going to make it random. Snap his fingers, 50-50, die or live, right?
Yeah.
Did he include himself? Think about that. Because if Thanos included himself in the 50-50, if there's a 50-50 chance that him snapping his fingers would have deleted himself from existence, I'm saying, you know what, Thanos? Good for you. Good for you. Practice what you preach.
He probably didn't. I wouldn't have. Incidentally, if you want to find out, listeners or viewers, if you are killed or spared by Thanos, all you need to do is go to www.didthanoskill.me.
Oh,
and that's
a great idea.
It is, and you get told explicitly, I'm all right. Luke, did you go do it?
I didn't. I'm going to assume that...
I'd assume that you lived. I think you're the sort of person who would add a lot to the universe as it stands.
The other thing that was a criticism of Thanos early on when the trailers hit was the CGI. A lot of people were making fun of him, character design-wise. And I have to say that never for a second did I have a problem with Thanos' CGI. I thought he was great. I think he's pretty comic book accurate, but he still felt realistic. He felt like a very real character. And I did like that they put in the joke where Star-Lord does make fun of his chin and calls him the Grimace, because it feels to me like that is the key difference between Marvel and DC, where Marvel will call attention to something like that and have fun with it, just like, you know, they'll make fun of Chris Pratt putting on some weight. They're not taking themselves too seriously, and DC would never have the Flash stop and make fun of Superman's upper lip.
No. Like, why are you hiding that?
But yeah, exactly.
If anything, what it's shown is how far the technology of building that face around Josh Brolin has come over the past 10, well, however many years since it was since Avengers 1.
Yeah,
like,
it's pretty amazing.
Yeah, like the way they mapped his face and morphed it into being not looking like a CGI, or as much like a CGI form of Josh Brolin.
But I'll tell you what bothered me about Thanos, even though he's totally plausible, totally believable. Josh Brolin does an excellent job, great actor. But what really...
Is he sexy? Is he attractive?
Yeah, I'd say so. He's a good-looking alien.
Carrie, my wife, thinks that he is.
Yeah, he's a good-looking alien.
We've got nodding.
Handsome purple man.
Yeah. Sorry, you were saying.
Well, so the thing that bothers me about the character is that he sounds like Josh Brolin, and you would think that this exotic titan of the universe would have some kind of accent or something. It just felt a little bit like Thanos feels way too American.
Like, mate, I'm Thanos. Oi, you can destroy that universe. Oi, oi.
Well, I mean, this is why movies make sure all the villains have British accents. It's because it gives a little gravitas, you know? And Thanos just sounded way too much like a dude that I'm standing in line behind at Walmart. And he's imposing, you know, he's got business, he's got to get back to work, but he's probably the foreman of a construction company.
No, he sounds like he's our middle management at an insurance company.
But regardless, it just kind of took me out of it a little bit. And no criticisms of Josh Brolin's performance otherwise. It just feels like he looks alien, and therefore he should sound a little bit alien, I think.
What accent would you have preferred Thanos to have?
That's the thing. It's like British is overused.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you the reason that it really jumped out at me was at the end, because when they show Wakanda and Black Panther, he's got that African accent that we are not used to hearing in movies. Yeah, because you know he's underrepresented. African culture is totally.
It would also be strange and be uproar if this king of an African nation had a very perceived Colorado Middle America accent.
But exactly, and so for him to have this accent that sounds so exotic to American ears, and for Thanos to have this totally non-exotic, homogenous Middle American sound. That's really the contrast that did it for me.
Oh.
And that's why we shouldn't have diverse movies. Thanks, everyone. I'll be here all night.
Just everyone in the galaxy should sound American. Actually, most people do. They do. Rocket Raccoon is American. Star-Lord's father sounds American. I think the only person currently existing in outer space that sounds more exotic is the Red Skull, who's still German.
Yeah, that's
after all these years.
Mantis has an accent.
Yeah, there's no distinctly, exact. Like what accent did Benicio del Toro have as the Collector?
He's a weirdo.
Yeah,
he's just a weirdo.
Asgardian.
So let's jump ahead here, just real quick. The deaths that we think are likely to stick, because we know that there's a Black Panther 2 coming. We know there's a Spider-Man sequel. We know a lot of these characters coming back. Doctor Strange, all these big characters they're not dead. We know that. I mean, they might be dead, but they're coming back. Who do we think is actually dead and not coming back? I'm not sure about that.
Well, you're wrong.
Maybe.
We saw the body. She fell from a great height. She's done.
She could be dead. She's got a question mark in my notes. I just think she's too vital to the Guardians of the Galaxy franchise.
Vision is done.
I think Vision is... I would give him 80% chance he's dead.
Yeah. Loki, I think, is done.
I think Loki's done too.
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
I think after the next movie, I think Tony Stark and Captain America are done and forever gone and lost us.
And one of the big reasons is, besides the fact their contracts are now up and they're very expensive,
they detest doing it.
I mean, it's easy to get over that, the amount of money these guys are getting paid. But
sure.
But in the story, they kept talking about trading a life for a life. We don't trade a life for a life. And ultimately, it seems like that's what's going to happen. Yeah. And the other thing is that when Doctor Strange looks forward in time and he sees the 14 and whatever million times they lose,
possible that they win.
And then he's the guy that makes sure Thanos doesn't kill Tony Stark. Clearly, Tony Stark is the only one, or the future where they win, Tony Stark is a part of it.
Yeah.
And I'm assuming it's that he trades himself somehow. You mentioned, I just want to talk about some of the highlights real quick, because you mentioned the Red Skull earlier. And this is something it's been bothering me since it was the... which movie was that? Was that Avengers that was
Captain America.
Captain America, the first Avenger, where at the end,
brilliant tie-in right from the beginning. There was a theory long-standing since that we get shot up into space by the Tesseract, where people were like, "Oh, he's out there in outer space, and he'll come back, and we'll see him again." And other sides like, "No, he's done." And Marvel's not going to be that forward-thinking, and yet here he is.
Clearly, he was beamed up,
standing in the middle of a rock somewhere, protecting an Infinity Stone.
I think what happened with the Red Skull, though, was that they expected to bring him back sooner. And what was it? It's Hugo Weaving, right?
Not anymore. It's Ross Marquand.
Well, Hugo Weaving played Red Skull. Hugo Weaving from, Lord of the Rings and The Matrix, Agent Smith. Great actor, but he notoriously hated this movie and being in the Marvel Universe for some reason, and did not say flattering things in interviews.
But why? It makes no sense. It was a terrible script. It was a good movie. He did very well.
Yeah, and what's mind-boggling to me is it's not like some method actor that only does auteur films. It's a dude that was in The Matrix and The Lord of the Rings. Like, he knows what it's like to be in a big franchise, and he had a major problem with Marvel. But whatever, dude. So he was not flattering about this in interviews, and so it was clear to me they did not bring the Red Skull back as intended, as soon as intended, because they didn't want to work with him and he didn't want to work with them.
Daniel Day-Lewis should have had the role. He would have spent years beforehand just living as an occult Nazi scientist, rocking about the place, just trying to reanimate the dead. He would have shaved all of his skin off and then just existed as a big redhead. I feel he could have brought a lot to the role, and it's a shame that Hugo Weaving got it.
I mean, I've never heard anyone say it was a shame that Hugo Weaving got a role, but I think in this case it is the outlier. But as you mentioned, Ross Marquand, who plays Aaron in The Walking Dead, he's the new Red Skull, and I didn't realize
which we do not speak anymore.
Yeah, we will talk about The Walking Dead or not sometime.
Fucking hate it. I 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 hate it, Luke. I can't do it anymore.
It hasn't been good.
It's not even. We'll save it for another time. I have lots of things to say.
But Ross Marquand is well known for doing celebrity impressions. And once you put the Red Skull makeup on and he does a little Hugo Weaving, puts a little flavor on it because he's been off, on another planet by himself for however many decades.
Yeah. Does he eat? Does he have to? Where does he go to the bathroom while protecting?
That's going to be a really, really boring spin-off movie.
The nuts and bolts mechanics of the day-to-day life. It's Red Skull.
I just imagine it as it's the Little Prince with a Nazi Red Skull villain instead of a Little Prince.
That's quite funny. What was the best part of the movie for you, do you think?
I particularly liked that the bad guy wins.
Yeah.
You just don't see that. And it's a little cheap because we know that it's going to be continued. It's a bit of a cliffhanger, but it's going to be continued in a year. So for a year, a bad guy will have won until they undo it or whatever happens. But, you know, it was, and that's, I think, why there was that shocked silence at the end of the movie, because it's hard to think of another movie where the bad guy wins. There are very few examples. And certainly not in this genre.
No, it's something that's meant to be stereotypically hopeful and positive and relaying the sort of good will triumph over evil kind of message. I think the one that springs, Empire Strikes Back, that's a bad guy wins film. Yeah.
And that's a good example to use because, of course, that was going to be continued and come back. And so it's a similar situation where now with perspective, we know what happens in Return of the Jedi. We can still appreciate Empire Strikes Back as a great movie that defied at the time expectations, and it's easy to overlook how much of a shock that would have been in theaters when you don't know what's coming next.
I actually really enjoyed the fact that the Hulk wasn't in it as much, and they made it a bit of a thing.
Yeah.
Like how hard do you need to smack the Hulk that he's just not angry anymore?
Did you see though? So first of all, the trailer for this movie, the original trailer, they show the scene everyone's running in Wakanda, and the Hulk is there in the background with them. But in the movie, when you watch it, it's the Hulkbuster armor with Bruce Banner inside. Yeah. And apparently they changed this at some point because there are pictures of toys. I think the toys actually saw production. I'm putting up on screen now. You can't see it, but there's a Funko action figure of the Hulkbuster armor with a green Hulk busting out of it. And this was made, or this was, produced, or I don't know if it's on the market, but clearly at some point in the story and the script revisions, it was intended that the Hulk would bust out of the Hulkbuster armor. And they changed it. What's your theory?
My theory is that in the next film, Black Widow will die or get hurt seriously, and that will spark Bruce Banner to become angry again.
That could be a good one. I can see that.
I thought so. She can also die. I don't care too particularly much about her and her character.
She's going to get a solo movie at some point just because everyone's been clamoring for it, but it could be set in the past still.
I've given women enough already. They don't...
They drive, they vote. What more do you want? Solo movies?
Wear shoes now. Yeah. I was only let down by one bit. And it made me think Peter Dinklage is not actually that good of an actor.
Oh, tell me.
With the thing of him being the sort of dwarf person.
He's a dwarf.
They made dwarves, quote unquote, much bigger than everyone else, but he just didn't seem very good.
He seemed like he was phoning it in a little bit. It felt like he's just doing his Game of Thrones accent.
I'm going to light the sun again, sir. He's not...
He was phoning it in.
He doesn't sound very good when he's not just talking an American accent.
Yeah.
But he was excellent in 3 Billboards Outside of...
Ebbing, Missouri.
He was awesome in that. He was incredible in that, but...
Yeah.
He just seems really unhappy.
He was also very good in Elf.
I have not seen Elf.
Oh, there's a great Peter Dinklage scene in Elf.
Okay.
I assume that what happened was they go to Peter Dinklage. They say, "We'd like to put you in this movie. We want you to play a dwarf." And he said, "You know what? I don't want to have to play dwarves all my life. For once, I'd like to play a different kind of character. How about a giant. And they said, I'll do you one better. How about a giant dwarf? Sold. Sign me up.
But actually, I don't think he had any sort of interaction with any other cast members because it would have all been recorded in green screen.
Yeah, but even in the movie, it's restricted to Thor and to some degree Rocket and Groot. And Groot's a CGI character, and Rocket is a CGI character. Yeah. So, yeah,
it was Thor. And he would never have bothered going in. He would have been fed the lines.
You know what, though? That might explain how it feels a little phoned in. Because if some actors have a hard time playing off of a green screen, and it does bring down their performance.
Yeah. I can imagine that. That's all right. Well, maybe I'll be too harsh on a award-winning actor Peter Dinklage.
I have just a couple quick little complaints about this before we move on. First of all, the whole trying to pull the glove off thing, where Spider-Man and Iron Man are trying to pull the Infinity Gauntlet off of Thanos, and of course Star-Lord slaps him, and it's like, come on, dude. That was a little dumb. To me, that was the Martha moment. It was like, guys can't figure out how to pull a glove off a dude's hand, and another guy can't just, keep it together for 5 more seconds. It was Martha.
Then, yeah. Why did you say that? Yeah, but the movie was over then. They have to have a reason.
I understand, but they showed it almost off the hand. It's like if they hadn't shown it that only a couple fingers were holding it, it wouldn't have even been so hard for me to stomach. Yeah. But the fact that now there's a pinky in this thing, and they can't just get it off this one last fat purple finger. And it was it was a little Martha for me.
Yeah, it seems like sort of creating tension for the sake of creating tension as opposed to
exactly
anything that adds to the story.
It's like we don't know what to do with this, so let's just they'll accept it. My biggest complaint about the movie is that having come right after Thor Ragnarok. So I really enjoyed Thor Ragnarok. The other Thor movies were, whatever. I watched them in theaters, and I don't really care.
Sucks.
I could live without them. Thor Ragnarok was a lot of fun. Taika Waititi, if I'm pronouncing his name correctly, he's a Kiwi. He's from New Zealand. He's an incredibly funny actor as well as a director. And his flavor on Thor Ragnarok makes it really a fun movie. And he put it in this direction where I was like, for the first time ever at the end of a Thor movie, I'm like, I'm excited for the next Thor movie. And
only if Jeff Goldblum is going to be in it, though.
Oh, well, I'm excited for anything Jeff Goldblum's in.
The new Jurassic World film. There's another one coming out, and he's in it.
He's in it. I gotta have my Goldblum.
Why shouldn't just be protesting this fucking place? Shut it down. It's killed too many people. Stop going back. It's a bad idea. It's like why? What's the name of the company in Aliens?
Oh, the Wayland Yutani.
That's the one. Stop going after this alien. Stop bringing dinosaurs into this park, or stop sending people there. And anyway, we've gone off vastly off track. I will watch Jeff Goldblum in anything. He was the better part of that film. I feel.
He was great, but
I can take or leave me some Hemsworth.
It felt to me like it was just kind of poor timing in that Thor Ragnarok had this perspective and it was fun and it was going in this direction, but the next movie is Infinity War, and so we have to stop it dead in its tracks. And we have to shift the tone. It's got to be more serious. We're going to have to kill half these Asgardians. We're going to have to kill Loki. And it just felt like that is the thing that disappointed me the most about Infinity War, is that it kept us from getting a Thor Ragnarok sequel that would have been able to continue unimpeded. And that's just a matter of, the timing. What were you going to do?
What's the next film that's coming out?
Okay, so the next film, Ant-Man and the Wasp, comes out July 6th. My prediction for that is that because it deals with the quantum realm, that will tie in somehow. Like maybe Ant-Man accessing the quantum realm is a backdoor to the Soul Stone.
That sounds suspiciously like Fantastic Four territory to me.
It does. It makes me nervous when we're talking about realities and time travel and dimensions. That, like, I do not want them to make this like convoluted where time travel fixes everything and alternate universes will replace any character. Like, I do not want to see them go down that road. And they're dangerously close to that with what happened in Infinity War and what the Infinity Gauntlet can do.
Oh, given that you can do literally anything within a controlled universe, closed as it is, they're dangerously close to doing that anyway. Like it will have, I believe, or I hope anyway, some sort of clever, interesting and understandable logic to it,
well,
based in a reality that is not just, and then this happens and time goes backwards and it all never happened anyway. Or
we've seen what happened in the Flash TV series, where the first season people loved. The second season they really got into alternate Earths and alternate timelines and time travel, and all the stakes just completely evaporated from the show, and it's been terrible ever since. And
once
the Marvel
I get out with that, then there's no real danger.
Exactly. And the Marvel Universe has done a very good job of only having time travel factor in with Doctor Strange, really. Very segregated from the rest of the universe, hasn't muddied the waters. And I'm a little concerned that the resolution to Infinity War takes the stakes out. But hopefully, if the Infinity Gauntlet is the one thing that can do this in the universe and it's destroyed, boom, now we're back to if a character dies, it matters.
Yeah.
So
Infinity.
Exactly. Affinity Gauntlet. So I think
there is limits to this gauntlet.
I think that Ant-Man will most likely tie in some way, shape, or form through the quantum realm. It might end up being a post-credit scene. That movie comes out July 6th. That is the last remaining Marvel movie this year from Marvel Studios. The next movie to come out will be Captain Marvel on March 8th, 2019, which we talked about, taking place in the 90s, and will probably be whatever sets up the resolution.
I know very little about that character.
She's like a cosmic superhero whose powers are well beyond what pretty much anyone else in this universe has had or has displayed so far.
Well, there you go. There's your soul.
Yeah, it's more of like a Superman level character than a Hawkeye.
Right. There is entirely your soul. She will be able to fix this.
She would have been able to pull that glove right off. Let's put it that way.
Pull the arm off at the socket.
The next movie to come out after that is going to be the next Avengers on May 3rd. And that's going to be the resolution of the story. And then the following movie, the third Marvel movie of 2019, is Spider-Man, the Spider-Man Homecoming sequel. And that's July 5th. And so that means that we're going to have a month between all these movies. It's just going to be boom, boom, boom.
Not the Marvel movie not the Marvel movie I'm most excited for. Deadpool 2.
And that comes out, that's in just a couple weeks. Yeah, I bought my ticket already.
No, I'm not.
I would advise you to, because this movie is going to sell out.
It's not going to break the records of Infinity War.
No, but it's still going to be hard to get seats.
I live in the Upper East, man. No one goes to 86th Street Theatre. There were seats left when we saw Infinity War.
Yeah, reserved seating is a blessing and a curse. Do you have any last predictions or questions or concerns?
I hope that a lot of people stay dead. I would like them to cut this off. They're not going to, ever. Just stop making superhero movies with Marvel because the money's too good. But I would like them to have some sort of bookend to this and not just keep it going infinitely with the Infinity Gauntlet. The Infinity Gauntlet's power is just to put more money in the pockets of Marvel. I'd like them to bookend it, have some sort of just closure, because we have to get off this. I've become sick of superheroes. Haven't you?
It's refreshing to see a movie like A Quiet Place, right? It doesn't tie into a major franchise. It's just like you have no expectations. It's original IP, and it's different, right? It's a different kind of setup than what, there's an evil villain with lots of powers. There's a superhero with lots of powers. It's not that I'm sick of superhero movies. It's just that I wish there were, to me, we've not saturated the amount of movies I can watch yet. And I can watch a lot of movies. So
your appetite for Marvel movies still...
Well, my appetite for movies is not yet at maximum capacity. So I feel like I'm not overloaded on superhero movies. I just want there to be more refreshing movies that are different. And that's all. I'm excited. I'm excited.
Original content.
Yeah, but balanced out, like The Shape of Water, right? Won Best Picture. Who would have thought that a romantic romance with a merman would win Best Picture? But that's the kind of thing that, okay, I saw it in theaters. I was excited to see it because it was different. And it was a solid movie. Was it Best Picture worthy? Debatable. I enjoyed it a lot. And
I think that he wouldn't have been a bad shout for either Thanos or Cable. Michael Shannon.
Michael Shannon is tremendous. I can see him as Cable. He's got the problem that he's Zod, though. He's claimed by DC, which makes it a little weird.
Oh, fuck him. No one cares. DC is dead. They should just give up now.
Well, I think
Wonder Woman 2 and all that. And
I think what they're going to do is they're going to make more that are like more standalone-y. I hope. I think
they're doing a Joker standalone film, aren't they?
Yeah, and that's Martin Scorsese is on board to be an executive producer. Joaquin Phoenix is the name they're tossing around to play the Joker. It would be separate from the DC extended universe, and that's what I want to see. And that's the kind of thing that would breathe new life into superhero movies, because now superhero movies are kind of synonymous with this big extended universe because Marvel's done so well. Give me some interesting superhero movies that are out of left field and don't tie into a bigger picture. Logan. Look at Logan. Logan is the perfect example. What a good movie that was. And it's because it was like Rogue One, in that it's okay for everyone to die at the end. It's okay for Wolverine to die. I've always been a big fan of, in DC it's called Elseworlds, and in Marvel it's What If. And it's
we talked about it before.
The alternate universe. What if instead of this, that had happened? And I'd love to see DC explore that, because Marvel can't. It would confuse too many mainstream viewers. In DC, it's like, what have you got to lose?
Yeah, they're willingness to take risks and be violent and be brutal and be bloody is kind of what's it. That they made me much more of a fan of DC and much more heartbroken, as they've just consistently messed it up the whole time through.
All right, so I guess that's it. We've covered, I think, all of the. There's so much to talk about with Infinity War. I think we nailed all the high points and the low points. And so,
all in all, I think it was excellent. I think it was a truly great movie. I think it achieved exactly what it needed to and wanted to, and I didn't feel that I was left wanting with it.
I agree. Story, execution, effects. I had some effects complaints, like the whole Mark Ruffalo and the Hulkbuster suit at the end looked really weird. But Thanos as a CGI character, like it really raised the bar. And if you didn't like this movie, if you're disappointed in this movie, it must be because you wanted it to be something in your imagination that would have been impossible to attain, because it was just so masterfully executed for the amount of stuff that has to go in it.
If you didn't like this movie, you're wrong.
Precisely.
Yeah.
This is the world we live in.
The only case about an example of art or whatever that there's objective opinion. You are wrong if you dislike.
You have to appreciate it even if you didn't love the story, because it is so incredible that this has happened after 10 years of this universe. This is this is how they bookend the first 10 years of this. It's amazing.
It's 10 years.
First 10 years of meta.
There's going to be Marvel movies coming out when I'm in. It's
going to be Marvel movies until they're beamed directly into your brain.
Oh, Christ. Wake
up
this morning having just watched Ant-Man 24. Anyway, right. Thank you very much, Luke.
Well, thanks, everyone. And be sure to follow at Roddy McGinnis on Twitter. And what's your Instagram?
At Roddy Funny, because I'm apparently 12.
That's right. All right. And follow at Essential TV, at Essential_TV on Twitter and Facebook, Essential TV. Thank you very much. And we will talk to you next time there's a big movie to talk about.
Goodbye.